Hello, welcome back to another episode of Modern Manno. I am here with Gabriella Cacciatore, writer, actor, mindset and movement coach, very brilliant human being who I thought would be good to come on today and do our little quarantine Q&A and get the train moving on self-betterment and specifically how to work on our anxiety during a period when we are all being tested to our core, and there's no running from it, but finding a way to put anxiety in its place. Gabriella, thank you for coming on today from your, I assume it's your bedroom there, where we all are in our bedrooms.
Yep.
Homes.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. And you're the inaugural guest on Modern Manno. It's a special thing.
I'm honored.
You're both a true friend who's been with me from the beginning of my idea to do this, and also a person who's been in this world, who understands mindset work, the importance of it, and you're also a seeker, constantly trying to find the more clearer, better truth about yourself and the issues that you go through, and you're very honest about that. I admire that. So I thought we could talk a little bit. Yeah, you're welcome. We'll talk a little bit of just people are high anxiety. There's no understatement to that. It is a very trying time. I talked before about my last video about how it's worth it to find crisis in the opportunity, but to get to that point, we got to kind of start with the awareness of what we're going through, because on one day you can think you're okay, and then the next day you start spinning and things are overwhelming, and it seems like there's nothing you can do to rein that in. And what do you do during a time like this? So go for it. What would you tell people right off the bat? And what do you do for yourself?
So for me, I believe that anxiety is just fear, right? Like it's a fancy word for fear. So whatever we have anxiety about is really some underlying limiting belief that we're living through. So what I've been doing is I write what I'm fearing about and I break it down until I get to what really is going on. So say I have anxiety that my roommate's mad at me, whatever. I fear that my roommate's mad at me. If my roommate is mad at me, that means that I will be alone. And so then it comes down to being, what does it mean if I'm alone? If I'm alone, it means I'm abandoned. So I then take that and I'm like, okay, is that true? Am I going to be abandoned if my roommate's mad at me? No. And then I rewrite that story for myself. Like, I'm perfect and whole just as I am. I'm allowed to express myself, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And then what I do for anxiety is I'm a firm believer that it's anxiety stored in your body. So I do different types of movement as well and use my 5 senses. So right now I'm experiencing anxiety and I actually have a bucket of water underneath my feet. So whenever I get anxious, I put my feet in the water to get myself to come back to the present moment. Mm-hmm. I also I have like this mesh thing that I hold that I'm like, okay, no, like I'm here. It's now, like I can transfer whatever anxieties in my body like onto this. So that I remind myself that I'm here in the present, because anxiety means your body and your brain thinks you're somewhere else. Mm-hmm. Walking is huge. I think that anything that moving your body and any sort of like meditation, and when you're getting the sun with that movement, that's huge as well. Especially like if you live in LA, like if you want to put your mask on and go for a walk, like that's what it's there for. Get outside. Come on, people. The sun is out. Go. Mm-hmm. Meditation is huge. Coming back to your center, always, like, what is my truth? Like, who am I? Like, I am. I'm a big believer in I don't know if you're familiar with the I am affirmation.
Not specifically, no.
Okay, so like I am means God in all these different languages. So whatever you tell yourself you are, you become, because your words create your reality. So when you meditate, you can meditate on I am whatever you want to be. So like I do often, I am safe. I am safe. And that brings that fear back down to like to my center, because like I am safe as I am. I am
Mm.
safe as I am. But I'm someone who struggles with PTSD and dissociation. So a lot of the stuff I experience is extremely intense. So these are things that really bring me back to reality. Um, but I feel like those are really important. And I'm also, I've been going back and forth about it, but like right now, I feel like, you gotta, if you need to use your vices and smoke, if you need to smoke, take a little hit of the pen or your joint, whatever, who cares? It's kind of like letting yourself off the hook too. Um, I'm big on that. It's just like letting yourself be. Why do we have to have all these rules that, you know, I can't do this because X, Y, Z? It's like, no, like right now we're in a time where it's like, just allow yourself to chill, but don't overdo it.
Yeah. Um, yeah. And not beating yourself up uh, over things,
Mm-hmm.
allowing yourself a pass. You have to, know that what we're dealing with, this is extremes. We're being tested, and some a lot more than others. Um, it's one thing to go to a workshop and to learn these things, but it's another thing to be feeling completely overwhelmed, to be taking care of kids or responsibilities, or to be dealing with real life stuff. And in the moment, remember, these practices, remember to come back to the present. It's very difficult to do that. And that's what I'm always most interested in. How in the moment, how do we in the moment come back and remember that even when it's uncomfortable. So
Yes.
and so you mentioned just movement in general, just walking, or people say during this time, make sure you go out and get exercise, and that's a really good thing, which it is. But there's exercise is exercise. It doesn't have to be you're doing a full high intensity interval training class in
Exactly.
your apartment, or doing something serious, or a full yoga class. Sometimes it just means just moving, just getting your ass up, and going out for a walk, to just getting your body moving, especially when you don't feel like doing it.
Yeah, that's the most important time to go. That's when you have to do it the most, is when you don't feel like it, because you're never going to feel like it. But it will always make you feel good. Going for a walk, being outside in nature, anything will always make you feel good. Have you ever taken a walk and not felt good after?
Yeah, you never regret it,
No.
or any exercise. But we definitely tell ourselves things, and yeah, sometimes it's just like, I know I should be doing this, but I feel so comfortable right here, and I'm just going to stay in my kind of misery and just hope the anxiety just subsides. When really it's I think it's about developing a practice, and I think you probably agree, having a mindfulness practice, a self-care practice, whatever this is, making sure you get your walk in every day, or whatever you do, exercise wise, but especially when it's hard, especially when you don't feel like it. I think that's the key, because that's with everything. It's following your dreams. It's asking somebody out if you're nervous, to ask them out. When a lot of times, when the time comes, people shut down. They get very nervous. They give themselves reasons to not do it. Um, but um, but I believe it's kind of having a bias towards action, taking action regardless of how you feel, because that day will never come that you're just ready to do everything you want to do and finish the project you wanted to do, or the day, today I'm in exercise mode, I'm ready to go. Stop waiting for those days and just move.
Yep. It's like I like to say, do something your future self would thank you for.
What role do you think the mind, our brains, I know we've talked about this a lot in the past, the role of our mind plays in our happiness, our feelings, and our experience right now?
100%. 100%. There's nothing else you have except yourself, and you're not your body. So the one thing that you can learn how to control is your mind and not let it control you.
And I was a person that always thought whatever my thoughts were in my brain, that was what my genuine thoughts were, and they would lead me to my feelings. And I always felt this is what I'm supposed to be feeling right now. But that doesn't really work, right? When you give your brain free rein, and you just operate off of whatever is going on up here. And, you know, it's counterintuitive because we're told use your head, use logic, use reason, but the brain isn't always our friend, right?
No, I started to really shift away from using logic and just trying to do what feels good. Like, there's a difference between forcing yourself to do something and then like that doesn't feel good and like getting over the fear, and doing what feels good in your mind, if that makes sense. Like, because when you're in the spiritual world and you're in alignment, you'll know when it feels good. I don't know if that makes sense right now, but
Yeah.
I think
It
that's
took
just the
me
way I've been feeling about it. And it's just, it helps here. I shift into, this is where it helps with manifesting, because if you're not taking care of yourself, if you're not taking care of your body and your mind, then nothing else is going to work for anyone right now. And that's what we're in right now, because unless you're taking care of your mind and your body and you're in alignment, you're falling apart.
And that's easier said than done, of course.
Of course,
because
it takes a long time.
People will do more to avoid pain than they will to go after their true joy, which might involve a little pain along the way. But in our minds, we want to avoid that. And unfortunately, I've been victim of that, and I think most people are. That holds us back. I guess what I'm trying to get at is, I'm, you know, in my late 30s now, and it took me so long to understand how to deal with the thoughts in my mind and the emotions that they were leading me to. I thought I had no control over that. But when you do start to practice some of the awareness, you get a little taste of it bit by bit, and you're like, oh, a whole new world is open.
You let the thoughts float by. But I think right now, so I'm really big into mind, body, soul connection. So I think right now, while everyone's stuck in the house and they're not moving, it's becoming really challenging because you can't move with your body. I'm really big about being in your body, especially people who have anxiety and trauma, because it's within them. Like, your mind controls it, but like, it's still whatever's being, you could be triggered by anything. And then it just sets you right off, and you're like, what's going on? Why is my heart racing? What am I anxious about? I'm not even really sure what I'm anxious about, but it's something. And so that's where it's like, all right, I have to let this all pass through me, or walk or move through it.
Yeah, movement is so important. So before we talked, I did a little research. Just generally on anxiety, I went to the luminaries, the people that on YouTube or whatever, whose philosophies I always trust, and I wrote down a range of things of what everyone suggests to handle anxiety, or I like to call putting anxiety in its place. We're not out to vanquish anxiety. We're not out to kill anxiety or to make yourself immune to its effects. But if you become aware, I like to say, you can tell anxiety, oh, you're here, anxiety. Thanks for joining us. But you can have a seat, and I'm going to continue to do what I was doing anyways. You know, having the bias towards action. But in my quick bit of research, I mean, you've already named off the major key points of what everyone has said, including Russell Brand, who I think is a lot of fun to watch right now. A very insightful guy, and funny. Basically, there is a self-care routine, a spiritual routine, whatever you want to call it, that you can get yourself into the mode of now, that it requires you to do little small things. First one I had written down: exercise, movement. You know, just moving your body. and like I said, this doesn't have to be like a CrossFit session. It doesn't have to be intense. It just has to be you being in your body, moving, getting out there. But of course, like my sister, people who will complain that, well, I live at the top of a really high apartment building, and it's a pain in the ass to get down there and to go walk for a little while. Like, yeah, I didn't say that. I could, I'm shoot, would never, but that's, yeah, all right, that's painful. It'll make you uncomfortable. But what is more painful? You not dealing with this, you coming out of quarantine and lockdown with no measure of control over your anxiety. And in fact, it'll end up controlling you. You just gotta go, and you just gotta force yourself to do it. Even if you do a little bit of it, exercise, movement, always been a part of my life. And I know you do a lot of yoga too, which is so, but yoga being kind of both the movement and the meditation.
Yes, meditation is so important.
So meditation, even though in a way movement is kind of a meditation, but on the list of things, movement, exercise being number one, and second, meditation practice. Tell me a little bit about meditation in your life, and how you do it, how you meditate, and what do you think is good for people?
I meditate every day. I meditate multiple times a day. I first wake up, so I'm on a new kick because of this whole quarantine thing, and I was going through something previous before that I literally shifted my whole entire world while the entire world was also shifting. I used to meditate for 3 hours a day, and then I kind of fell off because of some personal stuff that I was going through. But I wake up every day and I do Wim Hof breathing for 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then I cleanse my energy in my aura for another 10 minutes. And then I do praying for 10 minutes. And then I will do, like, if I can get myself to stay present, which has been challenging lately, another 10-minute visualization. And then in the middle of the day, I will look for, depends on what I'm feeling. I kind of go on what I'm feeling. So I'm like, am I looking for more of like a spiritual thing right now? So am I going to do something where I talk to my higher self for another 15, 20 minutes? Am I going to look for clarity? Am I going to, try to get some answers? So it all just depends on how I'm feeling. And then right before bed, I'll cleanse my aura again for 10 minutes.
So you have a very thorough, very thorough meditation practice.
I've been doing it. So it's a practice. I've been practicing for 3 years, over 3 years, almost 4. And it did not start out like that. It kind of started off by accident. That's kind of how I got into the spiritual world, and I didn't even really realize I was going to the spiritual world. I'm like on YouTube Googling meditation, and then all of a sudden I see, talk to your higher self, and I'm like, this seems cool. Okay. Here I am talking to my higher self. Then I'm like, past life regression. I'm like, let's try this one. 2 hours later, all these past lives are coming. So I've had a journey with meditation.
It is
for sure.
At once a most complex thing, and at the same time very, very simple. And it seems that you can go very deep with it. There are many forms of it. And I think that's what has made it very daunting for people to kind of accept meditation into their lives, because you have the stereotypical image of a Buddha in meditation, or something that it's like the monks do, or people who are into Eastern philosophy. Everyone has everyone who practices has their own way. For me, it hit me out of nowhere too. It wasn't conscious. My brother was really into transcendental meditation, and my brother had described incredible experiences, deep visualizations, deep realizations, going to places in his mind and his spirit, discovering things about himself. And so for a long time, it was and that's possible. That is within the realm of possibility. And, my brother, incredibly smart guy, but it wasn't always, he wasn't any new age kind of guy all of his life. He's also a seeker, and it led him to meditation. And I had heard of meditation going back from the starting to work in Hollywood talent agencies, how do Hollywood agents control their anxiety and deal with all the stress and issues of a high pressure environment. And there was always this idea, meditation. People would come in and do guided meditations, and it always seemed that it was something. Maybe you needed to have someone there leading you through it, or you have to subscribe to a specific doctrine. But for me, it wasn't. It wasn't until I had done yoga for a number of years. Fell in love with yoga in the mid 2000s. I love doing hot yoga, getting in there and having that experience. But honestly, for me, it was always, okay, maybe this is another way to get me in shape, to give me tone, to make me look sexier. And that's what it was for years. And in some part, it's still its purpose, but it snuck up on me a little bit when I started to actively see if I could meditate more and push myself to meditate, where I realized I had already been meditating. I had already done a meditation practice regularly. And it was going to my classes and going to yoga. And for some people, it's other things. Preferably, you want to have that mind and body connection. That's very important. But you can even meditate. Washing your dishes can even be a form of meditation.
You can meditate all day.
It's a simple thing that is just a simple interruption of your programming, of the programming that's telling you to be anxious, to think ahead to this thing that's coming up, to that thing, to your stresses, your worries. It's not a perfect process. You can sit and you can attempt to just focus on your breathing or just do yoga, and things will come up, as I know you deal with that.
Yep. That's the problem why people don't want to meditate.
Right, because it's like, oh, I tried meditating, but I just couldn't stop thinking about, picking the kids up, or, someone who, my girlfriend that I was interested in, who I don't know if she likes me or not. I can't stop thinking of that. How do you just calm the mind? It's easy to look at monks who do it. When those things come up, what is your process when you're in the midst of meditating?
So I let them float by. I used to try to push them away, and I realized that just made it worse because I didn't know what was happening. I didn't want to believe anything that I was seeing. I was in denial. I was like, nope, this isn't real. I'm crazy. There's no way. And then once I started accepting things and letting them float by and saying to myself, I'm sorry, I forgive you, I love you, like, thank you for what you've taught me, that helps pass it by. Because if you have any sort of trauma in your past, or if you've done things you're not wrong, or mistakes, but there are no mistakes, just like things that didn't sit with you well, or like you just don't want to think about, they will come up. But you have to forgive yourself for everything that has ever happened, because nothing is your fault. Everything just is. And that's the biggest thing. But a lot of time people say they don't do meditation, they don't do yoga, they don't like it, that their brain goes. It's because your brain starts going because it doesn't want to give you what it's actually trying to give you. Because when you slow down, that's when the truth comes, because all the distractions are taken away and all you have left is you and what you know.
I think people think it's a little bit hard because they'll try it and feel like they're not doing it right, because they don't reach a place of Zen. And they get frustrated and they say, oh, meditation, maybe it's not for me. Probably for most people, there's already a place in your life where you've already been meditating and you didn't even know it. It's whatever keeps you the most present. And it's an imperfect process. You can be attempting to meditate and clear your mind and just get the same images or thoughts coming into your head. And like you said, it's less, it's not about preventing those feelings from coming along, or, making yourself feel guilty because your mind it can't calm down. It's awareness in that. And that's why I like to say, I will talk to the fear and anxiety. Say, oh, thank you for joining us today. Yeah. It's good to see you again. Welcome. Have a seat. But whatever you're preventing me from doing, I'm going to do anyways, regardless of you being here or not. In a way, you kind of de-weaponize these thoughts, these anxieties that come along, and push through regardless. And it's an imperfect process. No one who's never meditated in their life is tomorrow going to just try it and, oh, this is the answer to all my problems. It's a lot more subtle than that. Recognizing what it really does mean to be present,
Mm-hmm.
is difficult, and it takes time. Like I said, it snuck up on me after doing years of yoga, where I suddenly realized, oh yeah, when I'm in that class and I'm doing poses, and there's a stretch of minutes where really I'm only thinking about doing the poses, I never thought that all the bullshit I was thinking about earlier, I wasn't thinking about anymore. It was taking me away from that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And, people who do yoga, they attest to it. You get out of there, you feel like $1 million. And, beyond the physical, it's that clearing of the mind, which is so important. And you mentioned Wim Hof earlier, who, if there's one thing that I can definitely say that I've added to my life during a lockdown quarantine situation is I finally got around to start practicing some of the Wim Hof breathing techniques. And if for people who don't know Wim Hof, he is a very, I guess, considered a daredevil in some respects, but more or less fashioned a breathing technique that had been around since ancient times, and allowed himself to be studied by scientists to actually see the effect of it on his body. He teaches a certain method of breathing, and says you should take cold showers in the morning in an attempt to awaken your body, awaken your immune system, awaken your pain threshold, so that you can go throughout your day. And the heavy stuff later in your day won't be as heavy because, well, you took a hot shower or cold shower in the morning. It's a way to shock yourself to a little bit of pain being okay. And then of course his breathing, I'm the worst right now, is giving the full rundown on Wim Hof, but it's a beautiful thing. And he, for men, I can't think of a better role model right now, in terms of self-control. The breathing technique is very simple. I still, when I do it, I tried every day now during the quarantine to do the breathing technique, and I'll do it from a YouTube video of him doing a guided, leading you through a guided meditation for the breathing technique. You do feel lightheaded a little bit at first. It's very quick. I think it maybe takes 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But something amazing does happen when it's over. You do feel it in the body, and suddenly you're just that much more calm.
Mm-hmm.
Is that your experience?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I just love listening to his voice. So he's like, "Hi guys."
Yeah, he's like a real
Breathe
man's
in,
man.
breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out.
This is a guy who was a teenager, said, oh, jumping in ICC is a good idea. And everyone thought he was crazy, but he was able to lock on to something. And I think especially during a situation where we're fighting coronavirus, there's an affliction that especially affects your lung capacity. Coming back to the breathing, couldn't be more helpful. And now when I'm doing it, is everything magical? Hell no. Thoughts still come in.
Oh yeah. See, that's the thing. People think that it's magical when you're doing it. It's like, no, it's after that you feel better. It's never, for me, my experience is like during it, my body will feel good, but my brain doesn't feel good. But after, my brain will be like, thank you. I love you. Thank you for doing that for me. It's like a cleanse.
And when you do just a little bit, you get a little taste of that. I think it allows you to believe you can take on the world.
Yep.
It's a way to start slowly. For all the men out there, Wim Hof is a very masculine fellow and teacher of a really amazing technique, which is not cultish in any way. It's literally simple breathing. It's the same thing that's used in different forms of yoga and daily life to simply bring you back to the present. It also happens to have the benefit of the body to awaken the immune system of the body, to get the circulation going in all of your body. And really practicing this technique is literally 10 minutes listening to a guided meditation for breathing for me, a little bit every day. I went from a place of being very high anxiety about the situation to feeling a heck of a lot more calm by doing this. And hopefully maybe in the future videos, I can kind of get into this a little bit more. It's really like Jedi level shit.
Literally.
With Wim Hof. So we talked about the meditation, we talked about movement, journaling, writing.
Huge. You have to. I found that, so my favorite form of self-sabotage is not writing. Like, I know something is wrong when I am not writing. I'll do anything to avoid it. But as soon as I put my hand to the paper, it's done. I'm like, oh yeah, this makes me feel good. And it's just, I think journaling, people get all in their heads about like, I need to journal about this, that, or that. It's like, actually just journal about whatever thoughts are coming to your mind and let your hand go. Just let your hand go, because that right there itself is movement and getting it out. That's why people are artists and they draw and it makes them feel good. It's just like, it's again, getting it out of your body, because it's all connected.
Yeah.
And if you get those thoughts onto paper, and even if you don't want to look at the thoughts, you can rip up the paper after and throw it away. Like, that's the best part about writing.
Yeah. Instead of being a perfectionist, I got to write a journal, but I got to make it, maybe it'll get published one day. So I got to make it, sound good. And then that becomes a process. A lot of the influential people that I looked up to see what they were recommending about anxiety, the writing kept coming up. For me, I originally got one of my first degrees in English literature and screenwriting, and I loved writing. And especially during college, I kept a really thorough journal, my adventures and all that. And I have to say that over the years, I had let that go. My day-to-day job, and it wasn't feeling like maybe there was much worth me writing. And also too, just like with the meditation and just like with the moving, I guess it's good to let go of this perfectionist nature. It doesn't matter if whatever you're writing down is a brilliant thought, or whatever it's capturing, but just, like, why do you think that is though? Why do you think that just putting things down on paper, just writing anything, why do we get that? Why do we get the catharsis there?
I think that when we put things down, they become, in our minds, they become permanent. And I think that scares some people. But I also think that it is a release, because it's transferring from your brain into the physical, and our thoughts can consume us. And it's like going to therapy, basically. So like, people go to therapy and they like talking, right? So they get it out of their mouths and it feels good. It's like, actually you can do the same thing writing in the journal, but someone isn't going to talk back to you, which for me, I think is fantastic, because when you write, your truth comes through, and then you can look at it and be like, is that true? Like, is this what's really happening? And you can say to anxiety, because it's not real. It's like, that's not real. That's not real. Like, that's not what's really happening. Like, take a step back. And it's just like transcending, because I think life is about transcending everything that you're going through, and making, what is your purpose here? What are we doing here? It comes back to your purpose, like everything. Like, what am I doing here? Yeah. I feel like every day I wake up and I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, what am I doing here? And so we're in a period now where you have nothing else to do but be. So write and figure it out.
And your kids in the future are going to want to know what you did during the great quarantine of 2020.
Another thing I have to say, though, if you don't like to write, videotape yourself or voice record yourself, because it will get it out. And then you can go back and look and be like, oh yeah, I was feeling like that. oh yeah, I was feeling like that, and just like take note.
Right. Now that I put it out there in the world, it
Hmm.
it kind of de-weaponizes the frustrations. It kind of is a cathartic kind of a dump, a mental dump. You just, you let it go.
Yeah.
And I have to say that doing personal journaling is something that I only had just started again during this, and it's up to an attempt to help manage my own anxiety. And I'm disappointed that I hadn't been doing it all along. In college, I was really good at it, and I love looking back at those journals. But it's an exercise in terms of letting go of that perfectionist need again. Oh, I'm not
Yep.
really a good writer, or this is not very interesting. It doesn't matter.
I'm not good enough. But what if you knew you were perfect and whole no matter what? You know?
And yeah, putting it out there. These are some concrete things to do that everyone out there will be telling people, this is how you manage your anxiety. But we're talking about it right now with a focus on, okay, it's doing meditation, exercising, journaling. These things aren't not difficult, but they don't have to be as grand in your mind. I mean, you're not going for nirvana when you're trying to meditate in the morning, especially if you got kids and animals barking, or roommates or significant others. But even if just for a few minutes, it creates a space. Imperfect as it is, journaling, getting out whatever you feel that you need to get out, imperfect as it may come out of you, that is the benefit. Moving, even if you're not doing, a booty blaster workout and all your crunches, just getting your ass out and moving, bringing some
Just
connection
move.
between the mind and the body.
Literally anything. Like just move. That's all I can say to people is move your body. Come into your body, not into your head. Another thing too that I use for anxiety, weighted blanket. So I have it on my lap. And you can have it wherever around your house. I also got a weighted vest and I'll wear that to like just stay grounded, stay in the present. There's so many different tools we can use that are available that are like right here for us. And the tools can help you use the other tools that are really going to help you. Like if you don't feel like you can stay present for meditating, get a weighted blanket, lay with the weighted blanket on top of you. Then you're really present. Like, okay, you can feel your body, like I'm here, it's now, and then like let the stuff come. And the same thing with writing. Because I know a lot of people right now are floating away, you know, like you just go to a different place. Like La La Land really exists for a lot of different people. And La La Land isn't always the best land. It's, it can be your own hell. Like,
Yes, yes, it's like a form of a mental and emotional imprisonment, which leads me to another thing I wanted to talk about in terms of managing anxiety during this time, especially, is the effect of social media on your mindset during this time, and even the news and things like that. Talk a little bit about what happens when you're so connected to that.
let me tell you, for someone who was using social media a lot, I took my ass right off of social media because I knew that I was going to go down the rabbit hole. And because your thoughts create your reality, and whatever you take in gets into your brain, it's probably the worst place to be right now. Because people are like, you can't control what other people are posting. And people are posting negative things. People are posting about the virus. People are posting about X, Y, and Z. And like, do you want that clutter in your brain? If you're following accounts that are helping you, great. But my personal experience is I don't trust what anyone's putting out there right now. So I've just removed myself from the situation. That's my personal experience right now. And that's coming from someone who used to post every single day, 4 times a day with positive content. But self-preservation right now and self-care is way more important than anything else.
I didn't even make like a conscious effort to do this, but I have pulled back significantly on social media just without even thinking about it. I think when I tried to focus on other things, it didn't have that same pull. But it's this, like the siren song. It can be addictive. It definitely works on the dopamine receptors. Social media, Facebook, you know, and also too, you want to be informed. You want to be informed of what's going on, and you want to know what's going on with your friends, and check in and feel and stay connected with people in a time where we can't, you know, physically be close to that. But we have to be really careful about that. It's our electronic means of connection are obviously definitely not the most reliable and the most healthy for us. It may temporarily help us get through and remain in contact with our friends during this time, but yeah, it's hella easy to sit there on Facebook and to just scroll and to click on the articles that people post and go down rabbit holes and end up, you know, spinning in a certain direction. Especially when other people out there, as most people aren't going to be conscious. Most people are going to be dealing with their anxiety in unhealthy ways, and the ones who love to be on social media are going to be promoting that unhealthiness out there on social media out for everyone to have. And you know, people being alarmist, and you know, I think that it definitely gets to you. We have to use it wisely and come to a new understanding about it. You know, I think again, it's something that we can't get rid of. It's going to be here to stay. Use it in the right way. And I guess all that I'm saying is that when I've taken a few days off, you know, I'm just not going to do Facebook this week. I'm not going to do Instagram, and I'm going to see if I can go for a couple days. I usually forget about it. Usually I'm like, oh yeah, I just missed a week of stuff, because once you're out of that.
Once you're out, you're out. I took myself off in like February when I switched, because I wanted to get a job in person. I was like, I need to change my life. I was going through a hard time, and I pulled myself off, and I was like, the world is clearer. I feel better about life. I feel more like positive. It's just been such a great shift off. And then to be thrown in back into a world where all that social media matters is very strange, because you feel disconnected for real, because you're not connected in real life. But I mean, I have found like more positive things about being off than being on.
Yeah, I think that's becoming more and more obvious to people, but it's, you know, it's in many ways a drug addiction. In a sense, it has very addicting properties, and it sometimes does feel good to go on there to post things, to get likes, to see what your friends are doing. It's the kind of thing that you really have to just pull back and just be like, look, I could get sucked into this and hours will fly by. And then I'm also taking on a lot of the energy and emotions that other people are putting out there. And in this time, this ain't a simple time. This is a very complex time. Nobody seems to have answers. So therefore you want to keep good energy there, especially in a time when they're like, oh yeah, this is the era of social distancing and we're under lockdown and this is the new normal. But at least we have social media. You can keep connected in that way. And you know, I'm a big proponent of that's a fool's errand if you're going to put all your hope into the chatting and social media and being so wrapped up into that. And even the news. I'm very much a current events-minded person. I've been following the developments of this, but after a while, I do start to see the number of rabbit holes that I can go down, and a seemingly normal, calm day for me, I'll go straight to the dark side very easily, because it's addicting. It's addicting to just sit there. I could just sit there and read articles from around the world all day long, you know.
I know. I had a big realization and didn't realize how addicted I was to it until I stopped, and I was like, what is going on? I can't believe, like, it's a little addiction.
So we talked about social media in general. I guess maybe this is a good way to just bring in and cover the aspect of dating, relationships, human relations, men and women, and how attraction works. So as to not get too off topic, I believe anxiety is wrapped up so much into this. Tell me about how social media, how the pros and cons maybe that you've experienced when it comes to dating people, and or what you find attractive for people when it comes to their social media.
So I feel like since we live in LA, it's really different. And I'm not from LA, and the guys in LA are not my type of usual guy. So it's been a really weird dating situation for me. Like the people who I have met that I actually connected with, I didn't meet on social media. But what I do notice is like I try not to judge because I'm not a judgmental person, but like my brain automatically goes to, oh, this person, like I always want to know why. I'm one of those. So I'm like, why are they posting that? Like, what was the purpose of it? But then I, let go and like everyone does whatever they want to do and I really don't care. But I don't know. Sometimes I feel like it's just harder here because everyone's trying to build a business. Do you know what I mean? Like, whereas like on the East Coast, like on the East Coast, people are just posting their stuff, and here everyone's trying to be a somebody. You know what I mean? Like they're marketing themselves or whatever. So it's kind of hard to judge dating off of that because it's more judging like what they're doing as a profession.
Mm-hmm.
So my experience with social media here has been in dating has been weird. Whereas on the East Coast, the guys who I would date, like I would prefer them to not have social media.
Mm-hmm.
Preferably. Mm-hmm. My opinion.
But why do you think that is? Just because you think the marketing themselves and the self-congratulatory shit is just a little obnoxious? Or?
No, it's not even that. Because well, if you're marketing yourself, you're marketing your business, which I agree with because
it's a good thing, yeah.
You're doing God's work, okay?
Your mission, your purpose.
You're doing your purpose, So it's just hard to. I don't like to judge off a profile because my personal thing about my profile was just because I'm pretty doesn't mean that I'm who you think I am. Mm-hmm. That was my whole mission of my Instagram. So like I'm almost like anti what I look like and more about what's going on inside of me. So I guess I'm just a different type of person.
No.
Which I know there are a lot of people out there who are judging on social media. I just really don't care because I don't care about much.
Well, here's the thing that I always say, and we've talked about this before, and I talked about this a little bit in my last video, and I always have to reiterate this over and over because people don't seem to get it, especially in our society, or they misunderstand. And when I mean social media in dating, I'm talking about everything from Instagram to Facebook to even texting. There's a danger in allowing this electronic connection to replace real, true connection 100%. With people, which I don't believe. And I think most researchers and psychologists and therapists don't believe that it is legitimate, especially if we're talking about raising attraction. Mm-hmm. For a man trying to get a woman to be more interested in him. I think I don't even know if it's a generational thing because there's one argument that says, okay, well you had an iPhone since you were in the crib, and that's all you knew. So you're used to texting being that form of communication that's valid, that you can discuss deep and heavy things. Or showing, posting pictures on Instagram that's supposed to be who you are. Unfortunately, just because in the same way that you don't respond as much to men who feel the need to put themselves out there, it seems like that comes from a place of it's a very poor substitute. Our relationships, our texting, our chat, our DMs, our postings, all of that is seductive because we think that we're making a connection. with people. And maybe even people are revealing private things about their lives to us. And we think, oh, we're making a connection. But how many times I've had to speak with men and women where, oh, everything was going fine when we were texting, but in real life, something was off. There's barely any subtext when it comes to texting. There's humor is lost. Intent can be confusing. You can't relate to somebody like how you would in real life. And I think there's a little bit of an epidemic with people, young and old, who haven't thought so much about it, haven't stepped back and examined their relationship with their phone and their computer and the connection they're trying to make with someone else, especially when it comes to making a romantic connection. To me, very simply, it's just not sexy.
No.
Is it?
I can't stand texting. I'm like, why are you talking to me?
Yeah. I mean, what I like to say and what I have to clarify over and over and over again with people is that in the early dating stage, attraction doesn't get raised by how many times you make somebody laugh over text or how many funny memes you sent them or what you reveal and the progress you think you're making on there. The progress happens when you're in the same space as each other and you learning about each other in their presence, with their essence there,
Yes.
with that vibration, whatever you want to call it, that can only exist in real life and can only happen in real life. Yet men out there will look for every shortcut, every how to text a girl, exactly what to text her that will get her to be more attractive to me, when the truth is really not texting can work to be 10 times more attractive and help you connect better if you are actually dating the person in real life, if you're starting a real life courtship. It's easy to just let it, oh, well, we've dated once or twice and now we can just talk all the time and make myself available. And it's like us being on a date. Older generations, but especially younger generations, we're just like, what? How is that not connecting with people? It takes a bit of unlearning, doesn't it? To de-weaponize that, to depower the significance that we give texting and social media. Because we're taught like, oh, this is the new era and this is the way we actually keep connected now. But it's not very human, ultimately.
It feels gross. The more that I think about it, like the more that I come into who I really am, I'm like, ew.
You mean when a guy like needs to be texting all day, all night?
Yeah, I'm like, what do you want from me? Like, take me on a date. Send me a gift. Do something. Like, you know what I mean?
That's your language of
your
love.
Your words are nothing. Yeah. Do something. That is my love language, for anyone who's wondering.
The light and the truth is, for men, you should be courting a woman by taking her out on dates, not by attempting to, say every good morning and every good night and show her every bit of food that you're eating or where you're at all times. To court a woman is to set up real life opportunities where the magic can happen, where attraction can grow, and the levels of intimacy can be raised, which is the point of being in such a relationship. It doesn't work for many women that I know when it comes through texting. And a lot of women will argue with the point with me, and they misunderstand, and they say, well, I don't want to be with a guy who doesn't text me. That's not what I'm saying. It means if you're just not texting somebody, if you're a guy who's just not texting a girl and you're not doing anything else, then yeah, you're totally fucking up. But setting a date, saying, you know what, I'm at work right now. I'm hoping you're having a wonderful day. Friday night, 8 p.m., this restaurant. Are you there? Non-quarantine times. How about it? great. You put it on the schedule. You look forward to it and you allow the magic to happen when it gets rolled out.
That doesn't happen in my generation.
Well, that's the thing.
We got to work on them.
Well, you'd be surprised, even older people, well into their older age, who just don't understand it more, feel that it's just this valid way to keep in connection. And also, too, people think that if I'm not texting this person, if we're not texting together, they're going to forget about me. They'll forget about me.
Yeah.
Which that's not how it works. And if they do forget about you, then that is the sign that that person is not into you the way they should be in the first place. And you shouldn't continue that. You want to try to gain momentum in relationships with people who are willing to be there for you, to say yes to dates, to make themselves flexible for you, not hard. When somebody likes you, they will make it easy for you. Women will open the doors, men just have to walk through them, as the saying goes. But a lot of people are trained to think that everything that matters is staying in contact as much as possible, beating the competition, the other guys who are going after a woman. But does that make any sense into why you're turned off by it?
Yeah, 100%. Just like, I don't know. At this point, you're gonna laugh. I told my mom, I'm like, you can set me up with someone at this point, like, because people, like, I feel like guys nowadays they just want what they want right now, instant gratification. They send me a picture of you, like, do this, do that. It's like, wait, everyone, let's take a step back. Just because there's this thing called social media doesn't mean that everyone's going to give themselves fully to you all the time. And I'm not talking about like naked pictures. I'm talking about like, just send me a picture of yourself, or, this and that. Maybe this is just my experience, but I don't know. I'm like done with the dating world online and men.
I would take a guess as to say it's because it doesn't elicit emotions in you.
Yeah.
Your emotions for someone can't grow, no matter how funny they think they are and how on text.
How much they think you're pretty, tell you this and tell you that. Words are bullshit in real life. Excuse my language.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just
actions.
Really big on that. It's actions speak louder than words. And then the older you get, the more you understand that, if you're mature enough to understand that. And if you're not, then I hope you learn someday.
Well, it goes back to also pain. It's texting, social media stuff. It's low pressure. It's low pressure for people to reach out to others and on social media. And everyone's always looking for the shortcut. A lot of the stuff they might ask you on social media, they wouldn't ask you in person because maybe they don't have the guts to do that. But it's easier on social media. And I don't think that ultimately is the most attractive thing for you to see in a guy. A guy who, is only taking chances on text and can only flirt on text, but crumbles when he's in front of you. I always say James Bond being a very masculine figure. Would you ever see James Bond double texting a woman? Hey, I texted you earlier. I haven't heard from you. I haven't heard from you in a while. What's going on with us? You never see James Bond do that. Why? Because he's out saving the world. He's on a mission. And yet the women swoon over that.
Mm-hmm.
It's real life attraction, you guys. That's what we're going for. We're going to cover more of this in videos to come to break down these misconceptions and also to teach the people who think that it's a game to keep texting minimal at the beginning of the dating phase. It's not a game. You're actually allowing yourself to act more truthfully to who you are. It's definitely not a game, but it's something that we have to unlearn. Conditioning that we have to learn, especially younger generations, that we can't rely on it. So anyways, that was my tangent. I just did a video, of course, that was about this very thing, saying, during this time, sure, if you really wanted to, you could date and you could secretly date and which is, I think it would be kind of gross right now, considering meeting new people and going out and people you don't know. Why push yourself to do that? And why put all your eggs into the online dating basket during this time, when really, if you could work on yourself in real life, better yourself, improve yourself in one level, as soon as the bell rings and the market is back on and people can go out and date again, you're going to be so much more attractive than you were before, other than the person sitting, watching Tiger King, eating pizza on their couch. I think that we have to use this time to get real with ourselves and become warriors. And you are one of them. So thank you. Thank you for coming on today, my dear. I appreciate it. Let's have you on again, talking about subjects, but this was very critical because we're in a when I got the idea to start this channel, I did not know we would be hitting a global lockdown. I'd never in a million years imagined we would be living in a time where literally the government is shutting down restaurants and bars and any place where you could go and socialize in public. I never thought we would get to that. And it prevents it, cripples the dating scene in a sense. But it also brings us back to basics. And that's what I like about that. If you can get back to basics, get to your core, work on those things, you come out 10 times a sexier person in real life.
100%.
These are my thoughts. Anyways, my dear, thank you so much. And we'll talk again very soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.